What if I told you that the reason you feel so unfulfilled, so exhausted, so resentful, despite doing everything for everyone, is not because you are not doing enough, but because you have made yourself everyone's second choice, including your own? You are the person people call when their first choice is not available. You are the backup plan, the safety net, the one who will always be there because you have never given anyone reason to think otherwise. And the most tragic part is not that others treat you as their second choice. The most tragic part is that you treat yourself that way too. Your needs come last. Your desires are deferred. Your dreams are perpetually on hold while you prioritize everyone and everything else. You have become the person everyone can count on and no one truly values, including yourself. Think about your life right now. When was the last time you chose yourself first? When was the last time you prioritized your needs over someone else's wants? When was the last time you said, "This matters to me, and I am making it a priority, regardless of who else needs something"? If you are struggling to remember, you are living the second choice life. You are the option people consider after their preferred plans fall through. You are the person who accommodates when everyone else has stated their preferences. You are available, reliable, flexible, which sounds like virtues, but actually means you have no boundaries, no priorities of your own, no sense that your time and energy matter enough to protect. This pattern shows up everywhere. In relationships where your partner gives you whatever time is left after work, friends, hobbies. In friendships where people reach out when they need something but are unavailable when you need them. In family dynamics where everyone's plans take precedence over yours because you are the one who will adjust. In your career where you take on everyone else's overflow because you never say no. In your internal world, where every desire you have gets pushed aside for someone else's agenda. You have organized your entire life around being available to everyone else, and in doing so, you have made yourself unavailable to yourself. The exhaustion you feel is not from being too busy. It is from being too available to others and too unavailable to yourself. The resentment you carry is not because people are using you, though they are. It is because you are using yourself on their behalf while neglecting your own needs. The emptiness you experience is not from lack of love or connection. It is from the absence of self-prioritization. You cannot fill yourself from others when you are constantly pouring yourself out for them while leaving nothing for yourself. You are running on empty, wondering why you have nothing left, not realizing you have been giving away everything you had and never replenishing yourself. By the time you finish this audiobook, you will understand how you became everyone's second choice, including your own, what this pattern costs you, why it feels so difficult to change, and most importantly, how to finally choose yourself first without guilt, apology, or the need for anyone's permission. This is not about becoming selfish or abandoning others. This is about recognizing that you cannot sustainably serve from depletion, that you matter as much as everyone you are serving, that choosing yourself first is not selfishness, but self-preservation, that being your own first choice is not just acceptable, but essential if you want to stop living a life of chronic self-betrayal and resentment. You have been everyone's second choice, including your own, for too long. It is time to make yourself your first priority, not because you are more important than others, but because you are not less important. Not because you should stop caring for others, but because caring for yourself enables you to care for others sustainably. Not because you deserve special treatment, but because you deserve the same consideration you give everyone else. It is time to stop being the backup plan and start being your own primary choice. Chapter 1. How you became everyone's second choice. Understanding how you arrived at this pattern is essential for changing it. You were not born making yourself everyone's second choice. Children are naturally self-prioritizing. They express needs without hesitation. They pursue what they want without guilt. They are their own first choice by default. So what happened between that natural self-prioritization and your current pattern of chronic self-abandonment? The conditioning began early, usually in childhood, when you learned that your needs were less important than others' needs. Maybe you had siblings and learned that their needs came first because they were younger, older, needier, more demanding. Maybe you had parents whose needs dominated the household, and you learned that keeping them happy was more important than expressing your own desires. Maybe you were praised for being easy, flexible, undemanding, and you learned that this was how you earned love and approval. The message was clear, even if unspoken. Others come first. You come last. And this is what good people do. This early conditioning created a template. Love equals service. Worth equals usefulness. Acceptance requires self-sacrifice. You internalized these equations and built your entire relational style around them. You became the helper, the accommodator, the person who could always be counted on because you never prioritized yourself enough to be unavailable. This felt noble initially. You were being selfless, generous, considerate, but what looked like virtue was actually learned self-abandonment. The pattern was reinforced through adolescence and young adulthood as you discovered that being available and flexible made you likable. People appreciated someone who never made demands, never caused conflict, never prioritized their own needs over group consensus. You became popular by being amenable. You maintained friendships by being the one who always adjusted to others' schedules. You were included because you made yourself easy to include, which meant never asserting preferences that might inconvenience anyone. Romantic relationships often deepened the pattern. Maybe you attracted partners who needed someone flexible, available, undemanding. Maybe you chose people who were used to being prioritized and expected that to continue. Maybe you believed that love meant putting the other person first always, sacrificing your needs for theirs, proving your commitment through self-abandonment. Each relationship where you made yourself second choice reinforced the pattern and taught you that this was what relationships required. Professional environments exploited the pattern. Bosses discovered you were the person who could be counted on for extra work, late hours, taking on whatever others could not handle. You never said no, never pushed back, never prioritized your needs over organizational demands. This made you valuable to them, but invisible to yourself. Your career became about serving organizational needs, while your own professional development and boundaries were perpetually deferred. Social conditioning reinforced the pattern, especially for women who are often taught that selflessness is feminine virtue and that prioritizing yourself is selfish. The cultural messaging was clear. Good people put others first. Caring people sacrifice for others. Virtuous people have no needs of their own. This messaging made self-prioritization feel morally wrong, even when self-abandonment was destroying you. You were praised for being selfless, which reinforced the very pattern that was depleting you. Over time, The pattern became your identity. You are the reliable one, the helpful one, the one who never says no, the one who is always available, the backup plan everyone can count on. This identity felt stable and valuable. People needed you. People appreciated you. People knew they could count on you. But this identity was built on your own invisibility. You were valuable for what you provided, not for who you were. People counted on you because you never counted on yourself. You were everyone's second choice because you had made that your role. The pattern became so automatic that you stopped noticing it. Saying yes when you meant no. Adjusting your plans when others stated preferences. Deferring your needs when someone else had a want. Prioritizing everyone above yourself. These behaviors became reflexive, happening without conscious thought. You were not choosing to be second choice anymore. You were just being who you had become. Someone who did not prioritize themselves. Someone whose needs came last. Someone who was always available because they had nowhere else they needed to be, and nothing else that mattered more than being useful to others. Understanding how the pattern developed helps you see it was learned, not inherent. You were not born this way. You were taught this way through family dynamics, social conditioning, relationship patterns, and cultural messaging that framed self-sacrifice as virtue. The pattern served a purpose once, helping you gain love, acceptance, and belonging when you believed those had to be earned through service. But what served you then imprisons you now. You are no longer a child dependent on others' approval for survival. You are an adult capable of prioritizing yourself. But the pattern persists because it is all you know. Changing it requires conscious effort to unlearn decades of conditioning that taught you that everyone else comes first and you come last, if you get a turn at all. Chapter 2. The signs you are your own second choice. Most people living this pattern do not recognize it clearly because it has become so normal. Identifying the specific signs helps you see how pervasively you make yourself your own second choice. The first sign is chronic availability. You are available to everyone, always. Your calendar flexes to accommodate others. Your plans are tentative, ready to be changed if someone needs you. You do not have commitments to yourself that you protect the way you protect commitments to others. This availability means you treat your time as less valuable than everyone else's. Your schedule is the one that adjusts. Your plans are the ones that change. You are always the accommodation because you never prioritize yourself enough to be unavailable. The second sign is last priority planning. You plan your life around everyone else's needs and preferences. You schedule your desires for whatever time is left after everyone else has gotten what they need. You take vacation days when it is convenient for work, not when you need them. You pursue hobbies if you have time after everything else is done. You address your needs if energy remains after serving everyone else. This means your needs are perpetually deferred because there is always something or someone else that takes precedence. You are your own last priority, which means your needs rarely get met. The third sign is conditional self-care. You only care for yourself if everyone else is taken care of first. You only rest if there is nothing left to do for anyone else. You only do what you want if it does not inconvenience anyone. This conditionality means you almost never actually care for yourself because there is always someone who needs something or something that needs to be done. Your self-care becomes theoretical, something you believe in but never practice because others always come first. The fourth sign is invisible needs. You have trained yourself to minimize or ignore your needs entirely. You do not even know what you need anymore because you have spent so long suppressing your needs to avoid burdening others. When someone asks what you want, you genuinely do not know because you have not prioritized your desires long enough to identify them. Your needs have become so invisible even to you that you cannot articulate them, let alone prioritize them. The fifth sign is guilt about self-prioritization. When you do choose yourself, even briefly, you feel overwhelming guilt. You feel selfish for taking time for yourself. You feel bad for saying no to someone's request. You feel like you are being a terrible person for prioritizing your needs. This guilt reveals how deeply you believe that others should come first, and that choosing yourself is wrong. The guilt keeps you stuck in the pattern because it makes self-prioritization feel like moral failure rather than necessary self-care. The sixth sign is resentment accumulation. You resent people for taking advantage of your availability, even though you never indicated your availability had limits. You resent that no one prioritizes you, even though you never prioritize yourself. You resent feeling depleted, even though you are the one constantly giving beyond your capacity. This resentment is information that you are betraying yourself, but instead of changing your behavior, you blame others for your own pattern of self-abandonment. The seventh sign is exhaustion as baseline. You are always tired, not the temporary tiredness that rest fixes, but the soul exhaustion that comes from chronic self-abandonment. You are tired because you give everything to everyone and keep nothing for yourself. You are tired because you run on empty, while everyone else runs on your reserves. You are tired because you are your own last priority, which means you never replenish yourself. The eighth sign is backup plan identity. You know you are not anyone's first choice. You are who people call when their preferred option is not available. You are the plan B, the safety net, the one they know will be there because you always have been. This identity might feel stable, but it is based on your own devaluation. You are reliable because you have made yourself second choice. People can count on you because you do not count on yourself enough to have priorities that would make you unavailable. The ninth sign is invisibility in your own life. You are so focused on everyone else that you are barely present in your own experience. You do not know what you want because you are not paying attention to yourself. You do not know how you feel because you are managing everyone else's feelings. You do not know what matters to you because you are serving everyone else's priorities. You have disappeared from your own life, becoming a supporting character in everyone else's story rather than the protagonist of your own. The 10th sign is waiting for your turn. You live with the belief that someday, after everyone else is taken care of, it will be your turn. After the kids are grown, after the project is complete, after the crisis passes, after everyone else is settled, then you will focus on yourself. Then you will pursue what you want. Then you will matter. But your turn never comes because you never take it. You wait to be chosen first by someone else, not realizing that you must choose yourself first, or you will always be last. If you recognize multiple signs, you are living as everyone's second choice, including your own. This recognition is painful but necessary. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. The signs are evidence of a pattern that is destroying you. The good news is that patterns can be changed. But first, you must see clearly how extensively you have made yourself your own last priority. The visibility is the beginning. From there, change becomes possible. Chapter 3. What being second choice costs you. The pattern of making yourself everyone's second choice has enormous costs that accumulate over time. Understanding these costs creates motivation for change. The first cost is your authentic self. When you constantly prioritize others and suppress your own needs and desires, you lose contact with who you actually are. You do not know what you want because you have spent so long wanting only what is convenient for others. You do not know what you feel because you have spent so long managing everyone else's feelings. You do not know who you are because you have defined yourself entirely by your role in others' lives. This loss of self is the foundation of existential emptiness. You are empty because there is no self inside anymore, just a collection of responses to others' needs. The second cost is chronic depletion. You give constantly and receive rarely. You serve everyone and are served by no one. You pour yourself out until nothing remains, and then find ways to pour out more. This creates a state of chronic depletion where you have no reserves, no resources, no energy for anything beyond basic functioning. You are running on empty, trying to serve from nothing, wondering why everything feels so hard. The depletion is not circumstantial. It is the inevitable result of prioritizing everyone above yourself. The third cost is resentment that poisons everything. You resent people for treating you as their second choice, even though you taught them to do so. You resent yourself for being unable to say no, even though you never practiced saying no. You resent the life you built through constant accommodation, even though you built it through your own choices. This resentment is toxic. It makes you bitter toward people you care about. It makes you hate activities you used to enjoy. It makes you feel trapped in a life you created. The resentment is information that you are betraying yourself, but instead of changing your pattern, you just accumulate more resentment. The fourth cost is relationships based on utility rather than value. When people know you primarily as the person who helps them, accommodates them, services their needs, they value what you provide rather than who you are. These relationships are transactional. You are useful. You are convenient. You are reliable. But you are not truly valued as a full person with needs, desires, and limits. The relationships feel empty because they are based on your function rather than your personhood, and the emptiness is reinforced by your own participation in this dynamic. You present yourself as service provider rather than full human, so that is how you are treated. The fifth cost is your unrealized potential. You have capacities, interests, talents that remain undeveloped because you invest all your energy serving others. Your potential requires time, attention, energy directed toward your own growth and goals. But all your resources go to everyone else, leaving nothing for yourself. The person you could become remains unrealized because you are too busy being who everyone else needs you to be. Your gifts remain unexpressed because you are expressing everyone else's needs instead. The sixth cost is health deterioration, the chronic stress of constant service, the depletion of never replenishing yourself, the exhaustion of being always available. These take physical toll. Your immune system weakens. Your sleep suffers. Your body breaks down. The health consequences of chronic self-abandonment are real and accumulating. You are literally making yourself sick by making yourself everyone's last priority. The seventh cost is missed opportunities. Opportunities require you to be available when they arise. But you are always busy serving someone else. Opportunities require you to prioritize your own goals. But you only pursue your goals if time remains after everyone else's needs are met, which means never. Opportunities require you to believe you deserve them enough to choose them. But you do not believe you deserve to be chosen first, so you let opportunities pass while you remain available to everyone who needs something from you. The eighth cost is the example you set. If you have children or influence younger people, you are teaching them that self-abandonment is virtue, that others always come first, that personal needs do not matter, that being chosen last is acceptable. You are modeling the very pattern that is destroying you. They will learn from your example and replicate your dysfunction, perpetuating the cycle of self-abandonment into another generation. The ninth cost is time. Time spent serving everyone else is time not spent building your own life. Time spent being available is time not spent pursuing your own goals. Time spent accommodating is time not spent on what matters to you. You cannot recover this time. Every day you make yourself second choice is a day subtracted from the only life you get. The time cost is permanent and irreplaceable. The 10th cost is your one life. You get one life. You are spending it being everyone's backup plan, being the person people turn to when their first choice is not available, being useful, reliable, accommodating, and completely unfulfilled. This is not a practice life. This is the only one. Every day, you live as everyone's second choice, including your own, is a day you do not get back. The ultimate cost is your actual life, the one you could be living if you chose yourself first, but that you will never live because you are choosing everyone else. These costs are not abstract. They are real and accumulating daily. Loss of self, chronic depletion, toxic resentment, empty relationships, unrealized potential, deteriorating health, missed opportunities, destructive modeling, lost time, and your one precious life. Every day you remain in this pattern. You pay all these costs simultaneously. The costs are enormous, yet you continue paying them because you have been taught that self-sacrifice is virtue and that choosing yourself is selfishness. But there is nothing virtuous about destroying yourself. There is nothing selfless about modeling self-abandonment. There is nothing generous about giving from depletion. The costs are too high, and they are optional. You can stop paying them by making one simple but profound change: choosing yourself first. Chapter 4. Why choosing yourself feels impossible. Even when you understand you need to choose yourself first, actually doing it feels impossible. Understanding the barriers helps you address them, rather than being paralyzed by them. The first barrier is guilt. You feel overwhelming guilt when you prioritize yourself. Guilt says, I am being selfish. I am letting people down. I am being a bad person. This guilt is so intense that choosing yourself feels morally wrong. But this guilt is conditioned response, not accurate moral guidance. You have been taught that self-prioritization is selfish. But choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. The guilt is the voice of your conditioning, trying to keep you in the familiar pattern of self-abandonment. The second barrier is fear of rejection. You believe that if you stop being available, accommodating, and endlessly giving, people will reject you. They will be angry. They will withdraw. They will leave. This fear is powerful because some of it is true. Some people will be upset when you change. Some relationships will end when you stop serving. But these are relationships based on what you provide, not who you are. Losing them is losing transactions disguised as connections, which is not actually loss. The third barrier is identity threat. Your entire sense of self is built on being the helper, the reliable one, the person everyone can count on. If you stop being that person, who are you? This identity crisis is disorienting. You have been this person so long that you do not know who you are without this role. Changing threatens your sense of self, but the identity you are protecting is based on your own invisibility. Who you are beyond this role is waiting to be discovered. The identity threat is real, but the alternative, staying trapped in a false identity built on self-abandonment, is worse. The fourth barrier is lack of practice. You have spent decades prioritizing others. You have no practice prioritizing yourself. It is an unfamiliar skill. You do not know how to do it. You do not know what you want because you have never asked. You do not know how to set boundaries because you have never practiced. The unfamiliarity makes self-prioritization feel impossible. But skills are learned through practice. You became good at accommodating others through practice. You can become good at honoring yourself through practice too. The fifth barrier is other people's resistance. When you start prioritizing yourself, people who benefited from your endless availability will resist. They will guilt trip. They will express disappointment. They will question what is wrong with you. They will pressure you to return to the old pattern. This resistance is real and difficult, but their resistance is about losing what your self-abandonment provided them. It is not about concern for you. Do not confuse their resistance with evidence that you are wrong. The sixth barrier is the belief that others' needs are more important than yours. You genuinely believe that their wants matter more than your needs, that their convenience is more important than your well-being. That disappointing them is worse than betraying yourself. This belief makes choosing yourself feel wrong, but this belief is false. Your needs are as important as theirs. Your well-being matters as much as their convenience. You matter as much as they do. The belief that others are more important keeps you trapped in second-choice position. The seventh barrier is fear of being seen as selfish. You have been taught that prioritizing yourself is selfish. You fear being judged as selfish if you start choosing yourself. This fear keeps you in self-abandonment because selfish is the worst thing you can imagine being called. But choosing yourself is not selfish. Selfish is disregarding others' legitimate needs for your own benefit. Choosing yourself is honoring your needs alongside others' needs rather than beneath them. You are not becoming selfish. You are becoming balanced. The eighth barrier is exhaustion. You are so depleted from years of constant giving that you have no energy to change patterns. Change requires energy. You do not have energy. So you stay in the familiar pattern, even though it is destroying you, because you do not have the resources to do the work of changing. This is a cruel trap. The pattern depletes you, and the depletion prevents you from changing the pattern. Breaking this cycle requires finding just enough energy for one small change, which can begin to shift the dynamic. The ninth barrier is hope that someday it will be your turn. You believe that if you just keep serving, eventually people will reciprocate. Eventually, you will be chosen first. Eventually, your needs will matter. This hope keeps you trapped because you are waiting for someone else to choose you first instead of choosing yourself. But your turn does not come until you take it. No one will prioritize you if you do not prioritize yourself. They will keep taking what you keep giving. The hope that they will change is misplaced. You must change. The 10th barrier is the sunk cost fallacy. You have invested so much in being everyone's second choice. Years of service, countless acts of accommodation, a lifetime of self-abandonment. Walking away from this investment feels like admitting it was wasted. This keeps you investing more into a pattern that does not serve you because you already invested so much. But past investment does not justify future investment in the wrong direction. The time you already spent being second choice is gone. The question is what you do with the time remaining. These barriers are real, and they make choosing yourself feel impossible. But impossible is not the same as difficult. Choosing yourself is difficult. It requires pushing through guilt, tolerating others' resistance, sitting with identity uncertainty, building unfamiliar skills, and challenging lifelong beliefs. But difficult is doable. The barriers can be overcome through conscious effort. They have power only as long as you believe they are insurmountable. When you see them as difficult but navigable, you create the possibility of change. The barriers explain why choosing yourself feels impossible. But they do not make it actually impossible. They just make it hard. And hard things are still worth doing when the alternative is a lifetime of being everyone's second choice, including your own. Chapter 5. The permission you do not need but are waiting for. One of the reasons you remain stuck is that you are waiting for permission to choose yourself. Permission from others. Permission from some external authority. Permission from life circumstances that make self-prioritization obviously necessary. But here is the truth. You do not need anyone's permission to choose yourself. You never did. You are an adult with agency and the right to prioritize your own well-being. The only permission you need is your own. And you have been withholding it from yourself. You do not need your parents' permission to stop living for their approval. You are an adult. Your life is yours. They had their lives. You get yours. You do not need their blessing to prioritize yourself. Their disappointment with your self-prioritization is their issue, not evidence that you need their permission to have boundaries. Give yourself permission to live your life even if they never give permission. You do not need your partner's permission to have needs. Partnership requires two full people, not one person and one servant. You are allowed to have needs, preferences, and boundaries in your relationship. If your partner cannot handle you prioritizing yourself sometimes, the relationship is not partnership. It is servitude. You do not need permission to be a full person. Give yourself permission to have needs even if your partner wishes you did not. You do not need your friend's permission to be unavailable sometimes. True friends want you to take care of yourself. They do not expect endless availability. If your friends can only maintain friendship when you have no boundaries, they are not friends. They are users. You do not need permission to protect your time and energy. Give yourself permission to be unavailable even if they are disappointed. You do not need your employer's permission to have boundaries at work. You sell your time and skills. You do not sell your soul. You are allowed to have limits on what you take on, when you are available, and how much you give. If your employer cannot function without your boundary-less service, that is an organizational problem, not your problem. You do not need permission to have reasonable professional boundaries. Give yourself permission to protect yourself at work, even if it means disappointing someone. You do not need perfect circumstances to choose yourself. You are waiting for a time when choosing yourself will not inconvenience anyone, will not create conflict, will not require difficult conversations. That time will never come. There will always be someone who needs something. There will always be responsibilities and obligations. Waiting for perfect circumstances is waiting forever. You do not need ideal conditions to prioritize yourself. Give yourself permission to choose yourself now, in imperfect circumstances, with real responsibilities and real consequences. You do not need to earn the right to matter. You believe you must prove yourself worthy of being chosen first through service, achievement, or perfection. But worthiness to prioritize yourself is not earned. It is inherent. You matter because you exist. Your needs are valid because they are yours. You are allowed to choose yourself, not after you prove yourself, but simply because you are a person who deserves care, including care from yourself. Give yourself permission to matter without earning it. You do not need others to understand why you are changing. You do not need to justify prioritizing yourself to people who are used to you prioritizing them. You do not need to make them comfortable with your boundaries. You are allowed to change, to grow, to decide you will no longer be everyone's last priority without extensive explanation or their understanding. Your choices are yours to make. Give yourself permission to choose yourself even when others do not understand. You do not need to be in crisis to choose yourself. You are waiting for things to get so bad that self-prioritization becomes obviously necessary. But you do not have to wait for breakdown, burnout, or health crisis. You are allowed to choose yourself before you collapse. Prevention is wiser than emergency response. You do not need to be at rock bottom to prioritize yourself. Give yourself permission to choose yourself now before you break. You do not need to be perfect at self-prioritization to start. You are waiting until you can do it perfectly, never feeling guilty, never struggling, never making mistakes. But you will never be perfect at something you never practice. You learn through messy, imperfect attempts. You do not need to be good at choosing yourself to begin choosing yourself. Give yourself permission to be bad at it initially, to struggle, to feel guilty, knowing this is part of learning a new skill. You do not need anyone's permission except your own. And the reason you have not changed is that you have not given yourself permission. You are waiting for someone to tell you it is okay to choose yourself, to prioritize your needs, to have boundaries, to matter. But that someone is you. You are the only one who can give yourself this permission. And you are the only one who needs to. Give yourself permission. Permission to choose yourself first sometimes. Permission to have needs that matter as much as everyone else's. Permission to be unavailable when you need to be. Permission to say no without endless justification. Permission to prioritize your well-being over others' convenience. Permission to disappoint people when necessary. Permission to have boundaries that protect you. Permission to matter in your own life. Permission to stop being everyone's second choice. Permission to finally be your own first choice. You have been waiting for someone to give you this permission. Stop waiting. Give it to yourself. Right now. You have permission. You always had permission. You were just withholding it from yourself. Give yourself the permission you have been waiting for. That permission is the beginning of everything. Chapter 6. Choosing yourself in practical terms. Understanding why you need to choose yourself first is one thing. Knowing how to actually do it is another. This chapter provides concrete practices for making yourself your own first choice. The first practice is scheduling yourself first. Before you accommodate others, before you say yes to anyone else, schedule time for your priorities. Put your needs, your goals, your rest, your activities on your calendar first. Treat these appointments with yourself as seriously as you treat appointments with others. When someone asks for your time, you can honestly say, "I have a commitment then." The commitment is to yourself. This practice makes you first rather than last in your own schedule. The second practice is the 10-minute rule. Before you say yes to any request, take at least 10 minutes. I need to check my schedule and get back to you. This pause prevents automatic yes and gives you space to feel into whether you actually want to say yes or are just defaulting to accommodation. Often the gut response in those 10 minutes is no, but you override it out of habit. The pause lets you hear your authentic response before conditioning takes over. The third practice is identifying non-negotiables. What are your absolute non-negotiables? Things you will not compromise on. Maybe it is 8 hours of sleep. Maybe it is daily exercise. Maybe it is time with your children. Maybe it is creative time. Whatever is truly non-negotiable, protect it fiercely. When someone asks you to compromise a non-negotiable, the answer is simply no. This is not flexible. These boundaries create structure where you always choose yourself in these areas. The fourth practice is need stating. Instead of waiting to be asked what you need or assuming your needs are obvious, state them directly. I need time to myself this weekend. I need help with this project. I need you to handle dinner tonight. Stating needs clearly communicates that you have needs that matter. It also creates opportunity for those needs to be met. Unstated needs are unmet needs. State them. The fifth practice is one-for-one exchanges. For every yes to someone else, require a yes to yourself. If you commit to helping someone, commit to doing something for yourself. This balance prevents you from only giving and never receiving, even if you are the one giving to yourself. The one-for-one practice builds in self-prioritization rather than self-prioritization being something you get to if time remains. The sixth practice is boundary rehearsal. Practice saying no out loud before you need to say it. Stand in front of a mirror and practice. No, I cannot do that. That does not work for me. I am not available. Hear yourself say these words. Get comfortable with how they sound. When the moment comes to actually set a boundary, you have already practiced. The words are familiar rather than foreign. The seventh practice is self-check-ins. Several times per day, check in with yourself. What do I need right now? Am I okay? What would feel good? This regular checking in keeps you connected to yourself rather than only tuned in to everyone else. It reminds you that you are a person with needs and feelings who deserves attention, including attention from yourself. The eighth practice is building self-trust. Start with small commitments to yourself and keep them. I will walk for 20 minutes today. I will read for 30 minutes before bed. These small, kept promises build trust that you will honor yourself. Over time, this self-trust makes larger self-prioritization feel more possible because you have proven to yourself that you can choose yourself and follow through. The ninth practice is consequence awareness. Before you say yes to someone else, ask, what will this cost me? What will I have to give up to do this? What will I not have time or energy for? This awareness of costs makes you more conscious about whether the cost is worth it. Often you say yes without considering what you are sacrificing. Consequence: awareness prevents unconscious self-abandonment. The 10th practice is outsourcing and delegating. You do not have to do everything. You can ask for help. You can hire help. You can say, "This is not my responsibility." Stop taking on everything because you are available and capable. Being capable does not obligate you to do everything you are capable of. Save your capacity for what matters to you. Delegate and outsource the rest when possible. The 11th practice is permission to change your mind. You said yes, then realized you need to say no. You are allowed to change your mind. I know I said yes, but I need to change my answer to no. This is not flaky. This is self-correcting. You do not have to remain trapped in a yes you regret just because you said it. Give yourself permission to revise your answer when you realize you made a mistake. The 12th practice is choosing yourself even when it is inconvenient for others. The real test is not choosing yourself when it is easy. It is choosing yourself when your choice creates inconvenience, disappointment, or conflict. I know you need help, but I am not available. I know this is your preference, but here is mine. These moments where you choose yourself despite pushback are where the real pattern change happens. Practice them even though they are hard, especially because they are hard. These practices are not about becoming selfish or indifferent to others. They are about creating balance where you matter as much as everyone else, rather than less than everyone else. They make you your own first choice, not your only choice. They build self-prioritization muscles that have atrophied from disuse. Start with 1 or 2 practices and build from there. Choosing yourself is a skill that improves with practice. You will be awkward and uncomfortable initially. This is normal. Keep practicing. Over time, choosing yourself becomes more natural. The practices that felt impossible become routine, and you transform from someone who is always the second choice into someone who finally, consistently, unapologetically chooses themselves first. Chapter 7. Handling the pushback. When you start choosing yourself first, people will push back, especially people who benefited from you always being last. Understanding and preparing for this pushback helps you maintain your boundaries rather than crumbling under pressure. The first type of pushback is guilt tripping. They express how disappointed they are, how much they need you, how unlike you this is, how they were counting on you. The goal is to make you feel so guilty that you reverse your boundary and return to accommodating them. The response is acknowledging their feelings without changing your boundary. I understand you are disappointed, and my answer is still no. Their disappointment is real. Your boundary is also real. Both can coexist. The second type is questioning your character. You are being selfish. You are not the person I thought you were. What happened to you? They are trying to shame you by suggesting that healthy boundaries mean you are a bad person. The response is reframing. I am not being selfish. I am taking care of myself. Choosing myself does not make me a bad person. Do not accept their characterization of self-care as selfishness. The third type is emotional manipulation. They might cry, get angry, give silent treatment, or emotionally withdraw to punish you for your boundary. The goal is to make the discomfort of their reaction worse than the discomfort of abandoning yourself, so you will return to old patterns. The response is allowing them their feelings without rescuing them or changing your boundary. They are allowed to feel however they feel. You are allowed to maintain your boundary. Their emotional state is not your responsibility to manage through self-abandonment. The fourth type is recruitment. They bring in other people to pressure you. They tell others about your boundary in ways designed to make you look bad. They recruit allies to convince you to change your mind. The response is refusing to engage in group pressure. I am not discussing my decision with anyone except you. If others are brought in, redirect or disengage. Your boundaries are not up for committee review. The fifth type is catastrophizing. They predict dire consequences if you maintain your boundary. The project will fail. The relationship will end. People will be hurt. They are trying to scare you into compliance. The response is reality testing. Are these consequences real or exaggerated? Often, the threatened catastrophe is dramatic overstatement of what will actually happen. Even if there are real consequences, those consequences might be worth it to maintain your boundary. The sixth type is comparison. They compare you to others who would never say no, never prioritize themselves, never set boundaries. Why can they do it, but you cannot? They are trying to make you feel inadequate or uniquely selfish. The response is refusing comparison. I am not them. I am making choices based on what works for me. What others do is irrelevant to what you need. The seventh type is the fake change promise. They promise they will change. They will require less. They will respect your boundaries if you just accommodate them this one more time. But after you accommodate, nothing changes. They continue the same demands, and the promises evaporate. The response is recognizing that real change happens through their actions over time, not through promises in the moment when they want something. Judge them by behavior, not words. The eighth type is minimizing your needs. They suggest your needs are not that important. Your boundaries are not that necessary. You could handle just this one more thing. They are trying to convince you that you do not actually need what you are asking for. The response is validating your own needs. My needs matter. My boundaries are necessary. I am not required to justify them to you. Your assessment of your needs is what counts, not their minimization of them. The ninth type is the favor bank. They remind you of everything they have done for you to create obligation. After all I have done, you cannot do this for me? They are trying to make you feel indebted. The response is recognizing that true giving is not transactional. If gave to you freely, there is no debt. If they gave to create obligation, that is manipulation, not generosity. You are not required to abandon yourself to repay perceived debts. The 10th type is increased demands. Paradoxically, when you set boundaries, some people demand more, testing whether your boundary is real. They ask for increasingly unreasonable things to see if you will crack. The response is maintaining consistency. Each time you maintain your boundary, despite increased pressure, you communicate that your boundary is real and not negotiable. Eventually, most people stop pushing when they realize pushing does not work. Handling pushback requires several key principles. First, expect it. If you expect resistance, you are not surprised or derailed when it occurs. Second, plan responses in advance. Have your phrases ready. Third, do not engage in extensive explanation or justification. Brief context is fine, but detailed justification opens negotiation. Fourth, Allow them their feelings without fixing those feelings through boundary abandonment. Fifth, maintain consistency. Boundaries that shift under pressure are not boundaries. Sixth, get support from people who understand what you are doing and will not try to talk you out of boundaries. Seventh, remember that their temporary discomfort with your boundary is less costly than your permanent self-abandonment to prevent their discomfort. The pushback is real and difficult. Some people will never accept your boundaries. Some relationships will end because they were based on your boundarylessness. This is painful, but necessary. The relationships that survive your boundaries are the ones worth keeping because they can adapt to you being a full person rather than requiring you to be a servant. The pushback is not evidence you are wrong. It is evidence that you are changing a dynamic that was not working. Maintain your boundaries through the pushback. The people who matter will adjust. The people who do not adjust are revealing that they only valued what you provided, not who you are. Chapter 8. Rebuilding relationships on mutual respect. As you shift from being everyone's second choice to being your own first choice, your relationships must evolve. Some will deepen. Some will end. Some will require renegotiation. This chapter addresses how to rebuild relationships based on mutual respect rather than one-sided service. The foundation is recognizing that healthy relationships require two full people, not one person who serves and one person who is served. Not one person with needs and one person with none. Two people, both with needs, both with limits, both worthy of being chosen first sometimes. This equality is what you have been missing. You have been half a person, the half that serves. To have healthy relationships, you must become a full person with needs, boundaries, and the right to prioritize yourself. Start by communicating the change. I have realized I have been abandoning myself to serve everyone else. I am going to start prioritizing myself more. This will mean I am less available. I will say no sometimes, and I will have boundaries I did not have before. This is not about you. This is about me learning to choose myself. This communication prepares people for changes and frames those changes as your growth, rather than rejection of them. Expect mixed reactions. Some people will support your growth. Some will be confused, but willing to adapt. Some will resist and try to keep you in the old pattern. The reactions reveal the nature of each relationship. People who genuinely care about you will adapt even if they are initially uncomfortable. People who only valued your service will resist because your growth threatens what they got from you. Renegotiate expectations. What you have been available for, you might not be available for anymore. What you used to accommodate, you might no longer accommodate. What you used to take on, you might now decline. Be explicit about changes in what you are willing to do. This clarity allows people to adjust expectations rather than continuing to assume your endless availability. Introduce reciprocity. Healthy relationships involve mutual care. Start asking for what you need. Start expressing when you need support. Start creating balance where sometimes you are chosen first. If the relationship cannot handle reciprocity, if it only works when you give and never receive, that reveals it was not a healthy relationship. It was a one-sided dynamic disguised as connection. Set boundaries and maintain them. I am not available after 9 p.m. I need advance notice for requests. I will help with X, but not with Y. These boundaries teach others how to treat you. Initially, they might test boundaries to see if you are serious. Maintain them consistently. Boundaries that shift under pressure communicate that you are not serious. Boundaries you maintain communicate that you have changed. Allow natural consequences. If people chose to rely on your endless availability and you become unavailable, they will have to adjust. Let them adjust. Do not rescue them from the consequences of your healthier boundaries. Their adjustment is their responsibility, not your problem to solve by returning to boundarylessness. Seek out new relationships based on your authentic self. As you become more authentic, you might attract different people. People who value boundaries because they have boundaries. People who want mutual relationships because they are whole people. These new relationships will feel different, easier, more balanced, more authentic. Invest in these connections as they form. Accept that some relationships will end. Relationships built entirely on your service cannot survive you becoming a full person. Friends who only called when they needed something. Family who only engaged when you were useful. Partners who only stayed when you had no needs. These relationships might end when you change. Grieve the loss, but recognize these were not real relationships. They were transactions. Losing transactions creates space for real connections. Practice vulnerability in new ways. You have been vulnerable about your willingness to serve. Now be vulnerable about your needs, your limits, your authentic self. This vulnerability is scary because it risks rejection, but it is the only way to create genuine intimacy. People cannot truly know you if you only show your service self. Sharing your needs and boundaries is vulnerability that creates real connection. Give relationships time to adjust. People will not adapt immediately. They need time to adjust to the new dynamic. Allow for awkwardness, missteps, learning. Some people will adapt slowly but genuinely. Be patient with the process while maintaining your boundaries. The goal is not perfect, immediate adjustment. The goal is movement toward mutual respect over time. Recognize that you are teaching people how to treat you. For years, you taught them that your needs do not matter. Your availability is unlimited. Your boundaries are non-existent. Now you are teaching them something different. You matter. You have limits. You have boundaries. This teaching happens through your consistent behavior, not through words alone. Every boundary maintained teaches them you are serious. Every need stated teaches them you have needs. The teaching takes time, but it happens through your actions. Rebuilding relationships on mutual respect might mean starting from scratch with some people. The old dynamic was so entrenched that you need to essentially create a new relationship based on different principles. This is hard work, but it is the only way to have relationships that do not require your self-abandonment. The relationships that emerge from this rebuilding are healthier, more sustainable, and more genuine because they are based on mutual care rather than one-sided service. Chapter 9. Becoming your own first choice permanently. Choosing yourself once is not enough. The pattern of being everyone's second choice is deeply ingrained. Making yourself your own first choice permanently requires sustained effort and conscious commitment. This chapter addresses how to make this shift permanent rather than temporary. The first key is recognizing this is lifelong practice, not a destination. You do not arrive at perfectly choosing yourself and then maintain that effortlessly. You practice choosing yourself again and again in each new situation through all of life's changes. The practice is ongoing. This acceptance prevents you from giving up when you slip back into old patterns. You are building a new default, which takes time and consistency. The second key is vigilance for backsliding. Old patterns resurface under stress, in familiar situations, with certain people. Notice when you start accommodating reflexively. Notice when you start prioritizing everyone above yourself. Notice when you start feeling resentful again. These are signs you have slipped back into old patterns. Noticing early allows you to course correct before you are fully back in the old dynamic. The third key is regular self-assessment. Schedule regular check-ins where you ask, am I choosing myself? Am I maintaining my boundaries? Am I honoring my needs? Are my relationships reciprocal? This regular evaluation keeps you honest about whether you are actually living differently or just thinking about living differently. The fourth key is celebrating wins. Each time you choose yourself, acknowledge it. I said no when I meant no. I maintained a boundary under pressure. I prioritized my need. These celebrations reinforce the new pattern. You are teaching your brain that choosing yourself is good through positive reinforcement. Without celebration, the wins pass unnoticed, and the pattern does not fully integrate. The fifth key is community. Surround yourself with people who support your growth, who celebrate your boundaries, who respect your needs. Distance yourself from people who pressure you back into self-abandonment. Your social environment either supports your new pattern or undermines it. Choose an environment that supports it. The sixth key is self-compassion when you slip. You will slip. You will accommodate when you meant to set a boundary. You will say yes when you meant to say no. You will prioritize someone else when you needed to choose yourself. This is normal. Do not shame yourself. Notice the slip. Learn from it. Course correct. Self-compassion allows you to stay in the learning process rather than giving up out of shame. The seventh key is connecting choosing yourself to your values. Why does this matter? What values does self-prioritization serve? Maybe integrity, where your actions align with your needs. Maybe self-respect, where you treat yourself well. Maybe authenticity, where you honor your truth. When choosing yourself connects to deeper values, it becomes more than just setting boundaries. It becomes living according to your values. The eighth key is remembering what the old pattern cost you. When you are tempted to return to being everyone's second choice, remember what that cost. The depletion, the resentment, the lost self, the health consequences, the missed opportunities. Remembering the cost makes the discomfort of choosing yourself seem worth enduring. The ninth key is updating your identity. You are no longer the person who says yes to everything. You are no longer the backup plan. You are no longer the one with no needs. You are someone who chooses themselves, who has boundaries, who matters. Update your self-concept to match your new behavior. Your identity shift supports your behavior change. The 10th key is recognizing that choosing yourself serves others. When you choose yourself, you stop serving from depletion and resentment. You have more to give because you are not depleted. Your giving is cleaner because it comes from choice rather than compulsion. Your relationships improve because you are fully present rather than resentfully available. Choosing yourself is not actually selfish. It serves everyone by creating the conditions for you to show up as your best self rather than your depleted, resentful self. Making yourself your own first choice permanently means integrating self-prioritization into your daily life so thoroughly that it becomes your new normal. It means being unable to imagine returning to the old pattern of chronic self-abandonment because you can now see clearly how destructive it was. It means that choosing yourself feels right rather than wrong, natural rather than forced, obvious rather than difficult. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through thousands of small choices, repeated consistently over time, until choosing yourself is simply who you are rather than something you force yourself to do. The goal is not perfection. The goal is direction. You are moving from being everyone's second choice to being your own first choice. Each choice in this direction matters. Each boundary maintained strengthens the pattern. Each need honored reinforces that you matter. Over time, these individual choices compound into comprehensive transformation, where you finally, fully, permanently choose yourself first. Not because you are more important than others, but because you are not less important. Not because you are selfish, but because you finally understand that self-preservation is not selfishness. Not because you stopped caring about others, but because you started caring about yourself as much as you care about them. This is the shift. This is the goal, and it is achievable if you commit to the practice. Chapter 10. Your First Choice Life. You have now explored every dimension of how you became everyone's second choice, including your own, and how to reclaim your position as your own first priority. The final piece is understanding what life looks like when you finally, consistently choose yourself first. A first choice life feels different from the beginning of each day. You wake up, and your first thought is not, "What does everyone else need today?" but "What do I need today?" This shift in starting point changes everything. You begin from yourself rather than from everyone else. Your needs, your energy, your priorities are the foundation upon which you build your day, rather than the afterthought you attend to if time remains. A first choice life includes healthy boundaries that protect your time, energy, and well-being. You say no without excessive guilt. You are unavailable when you need to be. You protect your resources for what matters to you. These boundaries do not make you selfish. They make you sustainable. You can give to others from fullness rather than depletion because you are choosing yourself enough to maintain fullness. A first choice life contains reciprocal relationships where you both give and receive. You are not only the giver anymore. You ask for what you need. You express when you need support. You allow others to care for you. These reciprocal relationships feel different, more balanced, more authentic, more satisfying. You are not lonely despite being surrounded by people because people actually know you rather than just knowing what you provide. A first choice life includes pursuit of your own goals and interests. You have time for what matters to you because you are protecting that time. You have energy for your growth because you are not giving all your energy to everyone else. You are developing your potential because you finally believe you deserve the investment. Your life reflects your values and desires rather than just everyone else's needs and expectations. A first choice life feels authentic. You are not performing anymore. You are being yourself. You express your actual thoughts and preferences. You show your genuine feelings. You live according to your truth rather than according to what gains approval. This authenticity might mean some people do not like you, but the people who matter appreciate the real you. And being genuinely known and loved is worth more than being universally accepted for a performance. A first-choice life includes self-respect. You respect yourself because you honor yourself. You keep commitments to yourself the way you keep commitments to others. You treat yourself with the same care you give everyone else. This self-respect is stable because it is internally sourced rather than dependent on others' validation. You know your worth because you demonstrate it through your choices. A first-choice life contains more energy. You are not chronically depleted anymore because you are replenishing yourself. You rest when you need to. You care for yourself consistently. You protect your resources. This energy allows you to show up better in all areas of life. You are more present with loved ones, more effective at work, more engaged with your own life. The energy comes from stopping the drain of constant self-abandonment. A first-choice life includes less resentment. You are not resentful because you are not abandoning yourself. You give when you choose to give, not when you feel compelled to give. You accommodate when it works for you, not just when it works for others. This chosen giving creates satisfaction rather than resentment. You feel good about what you provide because you chose to provide it rather than feeling trapped into providing it. A first-choice life feels like yours. You are the author of your choices. You direct your life according to your priorities. You make decisions based on what serves you rather than what pleases them. This ownership creates profound satisfaction because you are living your life rather than living everyone else's idea of what your life should be. The transition from second choice to first choice is not easy. It requires courage to set boundaries, strength to maintain them, resilience to handle pushback, and sustained commitment to keep choosing yourself even when old patterns pull you back. But it is possible. People do make this shift. They stop being everyone's backup plan. They stop abandoning themselves. They start choosing themselves first. You can be one of them. You have been everyone's second choice, including your own, for too long. You have paid the costs. You have felt the depletion, the resentment, the emptiness. You have lived the consequences of chronic self-abandonment. But you do not have to continue. You can choose differently, starting now. Not someday, when conditions are perfect. Not after everyone else is taken care of. Now. Choose yourself first. For once. One time. See what happens. See how it feels. See what changes. Then choose yourself first again. Then again. Then keep choosing yourself until it becomes your new pattern. Until choosing yourself is simply who you are, rather than something you force yourself to do. Until you cannot imagine going back to being everyone's last priority, because being your own first priority has transformed your life so completely. You were not born to be everyone's second choice. You were not born to be the backup plan. You were not born to abandon yourself to serve everyone else. You were born to be your own first choice, to honor yourself, to prioritize your needs, to matter in your own life. This is not selfishness. This is basic self-care. This is treating yourself with the same consideration you have been giving everyone else. This is equality. This is balance. This is freedom. Stop being everyone's second choice. Stop being your own second choice. Choose yourself first, finally, fully, permanently. Your life, your well-being, your soul depend on it. You matter. You always did. It is time you started treating yourself like you matter. It is time you started choosing yourself first, beginning right now.